Hey y'all, I'm finna start a GoFundMe, man, cause I know a lot of you rap niggas fucked up out here, man. Can't do no shows, ain't save no money, so guess what? I'm gonna come save today.
Sources close to the family of rapper Yo Gotti confirmed the man killed outside a Hickory Hill event center is Gotti's brother. Memphis police identified him as 47-year-old Anthony Mims, also known as Big Juke. Mims was shot in the parking lot of Pernod's Restaurant and Event Center. Another man who was shot is still alive but in the hospital. Tonight, police are looking for a white Ford Explorer SUV in connection with the shooting.
Anthony Big Juke Mims was 47 years old, the older brother of one of the most powerful names in Memphis rap, and he had just walked out of a funeral when somebody caught him lacking in broad daylight. The reason it came to that goes back years, and before this is over, you are going to see just how ugly it really got. Before we can talk about what happened to Big Juke on that January afternoon, we need to talk about who he actually was and where he came from, because this whole story only makes sense when you understand the people in it. Anthony Mims and his younger brother Mario, who the world knows as Yo Gotti, grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. Their family had deep roots in that city, the kind of roots that go all the way down into the street life that Memphis has always been known for. Big Juke described their mother, Geraldine Mims, as the John Gotti of the neighborhood, meaning she was a woman with real respect and a real reputation on those streets back in the day. She later moved away from all of that and became known as a cook. Yo Gotti has talked publicly about how his mother and aunts were the ones who taught him how to handle money properly, after he watched firsthand what happened to people who got street money and had nobody to guide them on how to keep it. The family also had a long connection to a man named Eric Big E Bovin, who was one of the biggest cocaine dealers in Memphis during the 1980s. Bovin ran what was known as the Bovin family and was a former business partner of one of the Mims family's aunts. That connection might sound like old history, but it ends up being directly connected to the day Big Juke died, which we will get to. Now, Yo Gotti built himself into a major force in rap. He started Collective Music Group, also known as CMG or Cocaine Music Group, and grew it into a label with serious artists and serious money behind it. The roster included names like Moneybagg Yo, ESTG, and Glorilla, artists who went on to become household names across hip-hop. While Gotti was out front as the artist and the label head, Big Juke worked behind the scenes at CMG as a talent scout, a project manager, and a promoter, the kind of person who keeps things moving day to day without having his name on anything official. His Instagram page under the name @BigJukeCMG was almost completely dedicated to pushing CMG music and events. He was not chasing fame for himself. Big Juke was there to protect and grow what his brother had built. He was even referred to as the number 2 guy at CMG. That description matters a lot when you hear what he was accused of doing. Now, on the other side of this story, you have Young Dolph. Born Adolph Thornton Jr. in Memphis, Dolph came up through the same streets and built paper route empire completely on his own terms. He famously rejected major label money multiple times, once turning down $12 million because he did not want to give up control of his work. He was genuinely independent in an industry where almost nobody truly is, and he wore that identity proudly. The tension between Dolph and the CMG camp started in 2014 when Yo Gotti tried to bring Dolph into CMG and Dolph turned him down. Dolph talked about this publicly more than once and was not delicate about how he described the meeting.
There's something about you I just don't respect, bro. I can't sit and fake and act like it's all good.
That's understandable.
Know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like the first time I even met little dude, go in the studio. First time.
Dolph said the first time he met Gotti, he already saw something he did not like. Gotti was throwing his own artists under the bus in the same conversation he was using to try and recruit Dolph. That told Dolph everything he needed to know about what kind of partnership it would be, so he kept his distance and kept building on his own. In a different interview, he explained his actual reason for saying no more simply than that.
And the only reason I didn't do it
Like, I could have went over there and got with Gotti and got the co-signer and sped my whole process up. But at the same time, I couldn't do it because I had too much of my own money and too much of my own time invested into it. So it wouldn't have made sense for me.
It's just business.
You see what I'm saying?
That is all it was supposed to be. But in Memphis, turning down the wrong person and then outshining them in their own city is not something that always gets left as just business. By 2016, what had been a private disagreement between Dolph and Gotti had started spilling out into public. Dolph released his debut album, King of Memphis, on the exact same day that Gotti dropped his own project, The Art of Hustle. The title was a direct statement. Gotti had been calling himself the King of Memphis for years, and here was this independent artist from the same city dropping an album with that same name on the same release date. That is not a coincidence. Around the same time, CMG artist Black Youngsta started moving in a way that made it very clear the beef was not just music anymore. In March of 2016, Black Youngsta and an armed crew pulled up in Dolph's South Memphis neighborhood, Castalia, posting videos and looking for Dolph. Dolph wasn't there when they showed up, but the fact that they came at all told the block everything about where things were heading. Gotti publicly tried to distance himself from it, telling interviewers there was no real problem, that he wanted Dolph to succeed, that it was just music industry competition. He even showed text messages in one interview claiming they had communicated respectfully. Dolph clapped back on that. In February of 2017, Dolph dropped a song called Play With Your Bitch that went far beyond anything that had happened before. He called Gotti Ho Gotti and came at him and Big Juke with lines that hit personal. The music video had a Gotti look-alike getting mocked on camera. People in Memphis were playing that record on repeat, and there was nothing Gotti or Big Juke could do about it except hear it everywhere they went.
There was a very vicious diss song where Dolph was dissing Gotti's brother, Big Juke, who obviously has become a big part of this. He's obviously his life was taken in the end. But, that was one side of the beef. Dolph dropped that very, very vicious diss track. What was it? I think it's called Play With Your Bitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely tore Big Juke and Yo Gotti apart. He had the body double in the video.
3 weeks later, on February 25, 2017, during CIAA weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, Dolph's bulletproof SUV was hit with over 100 rounds. Dolph survived because of the truck he was in, walked away, and performed his show that same night. After his session, he tweeted, "You lose," with laughing emojis. He turned the whole thing into an album called Bulletproof. Then, in September of 2017, Dolph was shot outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles and survived again. Gotti, meanwhile, kept telling anyone who asked there was no beef.
Me and Home never had one argument. You know what I'm saying? Ever in life. We never touched each other. Ever in life. We never exchanged no money ever in life. You know what I'm saying? The facts is just, I'm the biggest rapper from Memphis. I actually was helping them. I really just wanted to sign them, you know what I mean? Giving them advice, letting them come out on my shows. You know what I'm saying? Like telling them how the game go, letting my people work with them. You know what I mean? Like to advise them on how to build this company up and all that. So it was cool. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Then it just took a left turn somewhere.
The situation went quiet during the COVID years. Both camps stayed busy, and people assumed it had cooled off for real this time. Then, on November 17, 2021, Young Dolph walked into Makeda's homemade butter cookies on Ridgeway Road in South Memphis. He was doing his annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaway in the community, the same kind of thing he did every year to give back to the neighborhood he came from. He was buying cookies for his aunt. 2 men stepped out of a stolen white Mercedes-Benz and fired through the store window. Dolph was hit 22 times and died there. Key Glock, Dolph's cousin and the other main artist on Paper Route Empire, found out the way nobody wants to find out about losing someone.
Feeling, how you holding up?
I'm content. I'm all right.
When you say content, what does that mean? Like
I'm maintaining. Like I'm not getting better. I'm not getting worse. I'm just I'm just here right now.
You remember how you found out and where you were?
Never forget, yep.
Where were you at?
I was at home. I was at home laying down, actually. Yep.
And did somebody call you, or?
Somebody called me in the house. Like, you know how you can hear when somebody call your name, like the tone of their voice, like you know something wrong, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Memphis Police Department immediately started working the case. Investigators pulled surveillance footage from the store and the surrounding area, recovered the stolen white Mercedes the gunmen used, and began a picture of who was responsible and how it was organized. Within about 2 months, police had made their first arrests. Justin Johnson, rapper under the name Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith were arrested and charged as the 2 shooters. Hernandez Govin was charged as the man who arranged and organized the killing. Jermarcus Johnson, Justin's half-brother, was charged as an accessory for helping the group after the murder was done. All 4 were taken into custody and they pled not guilty to begin with. And then the legal process started doing what it does, which is take a long time and eventually pull out details that the streets already knew, but that had never been said out loud in a courtroom. In June of 2023, Jermarcus Johnson pleaded guilty to 3 counts of accessory after the fact. He admitted he helped the shooters get away after the killing, that he managed communications in the aftermath, and that he used Justin's phone to post on social media and create a false alibi for his brother. He was the first one to break, and what he said opened the door wider for everything that came next. Now, by September of 2024, the biggest trial in Memphis in years was finally underway. Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop, was in Shelby County Criminal Court facing first-degree murder charges. And from the very first day of opening statements, the prosecution made clear that this was not just a story about 2 shooters and a stolen car. This went higher up. Shelby County Deputy District Attorney Paul Hagerman stood up in that courtroom and told the jury that the man who put the whole thing in motion was Big Juke, Yo Gotti's older brother and the number 2 person at CMG. According to the prosecution, Big Juke placed a $100,000 bounty on Dolph's life. The motive was the long-running feud between CMG and Paper Route Empire, with Dolph's continued success and his very public disrespect of both Gotti and Big Juke being the final push that made Big Juke want him gone for good. The prosecution also told the jury that Big Juke and Hernandez Govin had invited Johnson to Atlanta before the murder and offered him something beyond just money. The allegation was that Big Juke told Johnson that killing Dolph would come with a recording deal on CMG. He was not just being paid in cash, but was offered a music career in exchange for a man's life. The most important person in that courtroom was Cornelius Smith. Smith had been one of the triggermen on the day of the murder, and he chose to plead guilty and testify against Johnson before the trial. What he described in that witness box was detailed, methodical, and cold. Smith told the jury that he and Johnson had tracked Dolph's movements for days before the murder, specifically targeting the period when Dolph was doing his Thanksgiving community events because they knew he would be out in the open without heavy security. They followed him to Makita's Cookies. Smith said he fired first with a semi-automatic rifle, while Johnson used a handgun. The surveillance footage shown in court showed both men in masks at the window. Smith identified himself and Johnson on screen in that same courtroom. He also told the jury that after the shooting, Johnson called Big Juke on FaceTime to confirm that Dolph was dead. Then came the part about the money. Smith and Johnson were supposed to get $40,000 each, and Govin, who put the arrangement together on Big Juke's behalf, was set to take $20,000 as his cut. Here is what actually happened when it came time to pay.
Juke's the money man calling the shots. Quet puts you and Justin together.
Right.
And you and Justin are cool with each other and interact with each other over the months. You said at least 5 times. You're trying to, now we're back after the murder, you're trying to get your money.
Right.
you're having conversations with Justin, is that correct?
Yeah, I was teasing the phone like, you know what I'm saying? I need their money for the party, you know what I'm saying?
Are there times that you're trying to communicate with Justin and in fact you're communicating with somebody else?
I ain't know it, you know what I'm saying? At the time I ain't know.
Okay. Did you come to find out that Jamarcus Johnson had Justin's phone after the murder?
Yeah, I found that out, I got locked up.
When you were communicating with Justin, okay, these times when Jamarcus had his phone and doing three-way stuff or whatever, what was the substance of those conversations?
Oh, first time I was on the way back from Atlanta, and he said he had got a little package from his homeboy, so we could have some money in our pocket or whatever. And I was coming back from Atlanta, so I like, I was like 2 hours out. So I was like, man, I don't want to just put it in the mailbox. But he said he had a letter with it too. And I know it'd be too many folks in my dad's neighborhood, so they'd be seeing what we put in the mailbox and double back. So I told him to give it to the lady next door, who like a grandma figured to me or whatever, and he gave her $500 in a letter.
$500 in a letter.
Yeah.
And obviously you're supposed to get $40,000.
Right.
But you got $500 in a letter.
You saying right here, yeah.
And what was the substance of the letter?
Saying that Juke said that if we get caught up, he gonna make sure we have the best lawyers and all that old stuff. We hot right now.
And this first payment is when you get back from Atlanta.
Yeah.
How did you got into Atlanta?
Me and my girl had went out there. After they found the cop, we had went on out there.
Okay, get scarce.
Yeah, I got scared. I got on them.
Did y'all drive out there?
Yeah, we drove out there.
Stay in a hotel?
Yeah, stayed in a hotel.
About how long were you gone?
I was gone a couple days. I ain't had any more money on me.
Run out of money, you gotta come back.
Yeah, I gotta come back.
And you come back, do you pick up that money from the old woman?
Yeah, I picked up the money from her, and I saw how much it was. I'm like, hell no. You know what I'm saying? Like, $500.
You could spend that on pills in one day, I bet.
Yeah, it's over with. Yeah, I could bet it.
What'd you do with the letter?
I flushed down the toilet at the hotel room.
All right. Is that the only time you got any money from Justin?
Nah, a couple days later, I was in the city or whatever, and he was saying that he was gonna have his folks to pull up on me, bring me some money or whatever, hold me down. So he been pulled up about 20, 30,000 leave, you know what I'm saying? But I had my girl to get out the car, and she met the person that was driving on the street or whatever. I had her to have her face mask on, and she said they had their face masks on, so we don't know who it was, but they gave her $300.
$300.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from Justin's folks.
Yeah, this was just folks.
All right, so now we've been paid about $800.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is there any other payment coming?
Nah, all the payments stopped then.
All the payments stopped.
Everything stopped.
Smith received $800 in total after killing Young Dolph. $500 arrived in an envelope delivered by an older woman at his building. $300 more came days later from a masked person on a street corner. He had driven to Atlanta to hide, but had run out of money within a couple of days and had to drive back. That was all he ever got from the people who sent him to do it. During cross-examination, the defense attorney pushed Smith hard on his credibility, and something else came out. Smith admitted that $50,000 had been paid by someone connected to CMG for his legal representation after his arrest, but he did not know exactly who arranged it. Defense attorney Luke Evans pressed that point directly, telling the jury the payment was for services rendered. Smith said he testified because he wanted to get it off his chest, knowing he was going to prison regardless of what he said. The defense's position throughout the trial was that the evidence was built on a man with every reason to lie. Johnson's attorney, Luke Evans, maintained his client did not kill Dolph. The jury disagreed, and on September 26, 2024, Johnson was found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and possession of a firearm as a convicted felon. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years for the conspiracy charge. In January of 2025, his request for a new trial was denied. One of the things that also came out through the trial was a list of alleged bounties Big Juke had reportedly placed on other Paper Route Empire artists beyond Dolph. According to documents that circulated publicly, Key Glock had a $50,000 bounty on him, Paper Route Wu had $50,000, Snoop Bands had $20,000, and Moochie Grape had $5,000. Dolph had the biggest price on his back, but he was far from the only target. The lead investigator on the Dolph case, retired Memphis Police Sergeant Terrence Dabney, testified in court that Big Juke, quote, would have become a suspect in Dolph's murder had he lived long enough to be charged. The key phrase there is had he lived. On December 31st, 2023, Eric Big E Bovin, the old Memphis cocaine kingpin connected to the Mims family, passed away at 63 years old. His funeral was held in early January of 2024, and the Mims family attended because of their long-standing connection to him. On January 13, 2024, after the funeral service, people gathered for the repast, which is the meal and gathering that families hold after burying someone. The repast was at Perignon Restaurant and Event Center on Winchester Road in the Hickory Hill area of Memphis. It was a Saturday afternoon, a little after 4 o'clock. A Memphis Police Department officer nearby heard gunshots and responded to the location. Officers found 2 men with multiple gunshot wounds near a vehicle outside the building. Big Juke was transported to the hospital and pronounced dead there. The second man who was shot survived. Police immediately described the shooting as a targeted assassination-style attack. Witnesses said they saw suspects leaving the scene in a white Ford Explorer with black wheels and dark-tinted windows, and surveillance cameras in the area captured footage of that vehicle. The night before he died, Big Juke had posted to his Instagram from @BigJukeCMG. His final caption read, "I will remember you forever, son." He wrote that the night before someone caught him outside a restaurant in black daylight. Boosie Badass had actually spoken to Big Juke just 5 days before he was killed. They had been setting up a verse together.
Who's Yo Gotti's older brother, just got killed after leaving a funeral. And I heard he was with his mother when it happened. I think they were coming out of a restaurant or something like that. Did you know Juke at all?
Yeah, Juke was my partner.
Really? Okay, I never met him.
Yeah, Juke was my nigga.
I interviewed Gotti a long time ago.
Talked to him probably about 5 days before his death.
Really?
He was setting a verse up with this dude with me and Cali. I had sent him the verse too. He was setting his verse up. Me and this dude in California. Juke know I'm a hustler. He can go get that money and bring it to me, you know. Juke, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, there was a lot of, just a lot of really bad talk that happened leading up to it. You know, if you look on YouTube, Big Juke was laughing about Young Dolph on live. You know, CMG don't miss twice. You know, talking about snakes and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know if it has anything to do with Dolph. I have no idea. You know, from the outside looking in, though, that's what it unfortunately appears to be. And once again, in Memphis, it's ugly. I mean, when you heard about the news, what'd you think?
Shooting happened in front of his mother, and you know, the footage of Juke bleeding out on the ground was even circulating on social media. So it was a very gruesome way, and I don't condone that kind of behavior in any way, but it is very messed up and ironic that, you know, Dolph got killed on camera, Juke got killed on camera, you know, for the whole world to see. Sometimes you hear these hip hop stories, these drill gangster stories where people go back and forth. I mean, even the King Von situation, you know, there's a pretty twisted poetic irony in the fact that, you know, Duck got killed on camera and these guys were laughing about it for months. Next thing you know, Von's dying on camera, you know, damn near in the same kind of way.
The Memphis Police Department released images of the white Ford Explorer and asked the public for tips through Crime Stoppers. Beyond that, the updates stopped coming. On the one-year anniversary of his death, an MPD spokesperson told the Commercial Appeal that, quote, homicide investigators advised that no updates are available at this time. An August 2025 follow-up got the same response, no updates at this time. This is an ongoing investigation. Big Juke's funeral was held in New Direction Christian Church in February of 2024, and even that told you everything about where things stood in Memphis at that moment. As for the rest of the legal cases tied to Dolph's murder, Hernandez Govan went to trial in August of 2025 and was acquitted, walking out of that courtroom a free man. Cornelius Smith, the man who testified against Johnson and admitted to pulling the trigger himself, is still waiting on his own sentencing. Jermarcus Johnson, who helped the shooters escape and managed the group's communications after the murder, was given a 6-year diversion program in November of 2024 and did not go to prison at all. And Justin Johnson, the man the jury found guilty, is serving life plus 35 years in a Tennessee state prison. Young Dolph understood something about Memphis that he tried to explain before any of this reached its worst point. He said it on camera, clearly in a Breakfast Club interview years before he died. He tried to leave it behind but could not. Big Juke could not either. And right now, as of 2026, nobody has been made to answer for what happened to either one of them on that level. Do you think Big Juke's death was long coming? Let me know in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.